Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring your attention to something that has not received the national attention that it deserves. A New York State trooper killed an 11-year-old child. This New York State trooper pulled over a family of four, a father, wife, and two children, 11 and 12. He pulled them over for speeding. It was supposed to be a traffic ticket. It ended up being a death. That state trooper is identified as Christopher Baldner. Let me give you some background to this. Back in December, this family was pulled over by that trooper. There was an argument between the driver, a black male father, and the trooper, according to the report. The driver said, "Can you please call your supervisor?" That's part of the protocol, ladies and gentlemen. You can request a supervisor. It is part of their guidebook protocol. Well, instead of getting a supervisor, this trooper continued to argue with this father. Went back to the squad car, according to the report, cursed at the family. The wife said she was tired. The trooper said, "I don't give a F if you're tired." Just continued in that same aggression. He went to the squad car, comes back, and he decides to spray mace into the vehicle indiscriminately, spraying the father, the mother, and the 11 and 12-year-old in the backseat of the car. Instinctively, the father, in fear of his life and the life of his family, said, "This cop is out of control." And he proceeded to pull away from all of this pepper spray being sprayed, harming his entire family. Well, this cop decided to break policy, got behind this family. He has already seen there's a wife and two children in the car, and he rammed their vehicle, not once, but twice. He ejected the 11-year-old daughter from the car. She died at the scene. She's dead today. She's no more. Look at this beautiful young soul. She's dead over something that should have been a traffic ticket. He was screaming at me. "You were going 100 miles per hour. You shook my car." That's according to the father. "I said, the tractor trailer in front of me shook your car. I had my hands on the steering wheel. I didn't get out of the car. I was no threat to him," Goods said. "I asked for a supervisor." The father's name is Tristan Goods. Tristan Goods, 39 years of age, told the New York Daily News that he was driving his wife April and his daughters 11-year-old Monica and 12-year-old Tristina to go and visit family. "My wife said she was tired." And he said, the cop, "I don't give a if you're tired," Good recalled. The trooper returned to his cruiser, and when he returned, he flooded Good's SUV with pepper spray. Baldner records show gave chase and used his state police car to ram the back of Good's SUV. About 8 seconds later, Good said Baldner rammed his car a second time. Let's bring up a picture of this father with his daughter. This young man, 39 years of age, was trying to simply protect his family from an out of control cop. I've done some research and I found that this police officer, this state trooper, violated company policy. He violated the policy of the New York State Troopers Division, because their policy says you do not utilize aggressive tactics and give chase or utilize ram maneuvers in an unsafe manner where they could harm innocent civilians. It is clear that even if he's guilty of a traffic offense, he's not a felon. He has no weapons. He is not trying to commit any crime whatsoever. There are children in the car. Do they not qualify as innocent civilians? If the black man is not an innocent civilian, does not his wife perhaps qualify as an innocent civilian? This trooper violated policy of his own workplace, and an 11-year-old girl is dead today because of it. What do you think happened to him? Do you think he got fired? No. Do you think he got arrested? No. He still has his job. He's on desk duty to this very moment. And this is why people get pissed off about cops and stories like this. Who in the hell can violate a company policy, and that violation leads to the death of a child, and you still have your job the next day? None. There is no profession, none, except for policing. There is a wrongful death suit that has been filed. The Attorney General of New York has launched an investigation into this. To talk more about it, to break it down with me, I got my big homie, Big Woznia, Tuesday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remarkable host, great writer for The Ringer, theringer.com. Big Woz, tell me, brother, am I seeing this wrong?
No, you're seeing it exactly right. And I think the last point you brought up is the most important one about you violate company's policy and it results in the death of a child. You killed a kid in the course of doing your job incorrectly, and yet you get to keep said job. And people watching this at home need to understand that I'm somebody who advocates for workers' rights. I don't believe that you should just lose your job for any old reason, right? Because we see people lose their job for quote unquote embarrassing the company in public, for Facebook posts, for this, for that, for the most innocuous things. This policing, it's one of the most important jobs that we have because we empower these people with the right of the state to kill, right? Like we empower these people with the ultimate power. And so therefore, they should be held to the highest of standards. The standards that it takes to fire a guy who works at McDonald's for burning a burger or something cannot be much lower than that of a police officer who can behave in this way and kill a child, right? And again, what would be the justification for pursuing these people with such force that they might be allowed to run free from a traffic ticket? Would that be so bad for society? Like, we're not talking about some axe murderers or some people who escaped prison and killed some people before. These are people accused of going over the speeding limit. And this person pursued them and literally ran them off the road. And in the police statement, it said, oh, well, the girl wasn't wearing her seatbelt. That's what they said. It's unacceptable.
Tremendously unacceptable. And remember, the father pulled over in compliance to the traffic stop. The officer was out of control according to his reports. And given the fact that the officer broke policy, violated protocol of the State Troopers Division of New York, and decided to kill an 11-year-old girl and put an entire family at risk, I would say the troopers' credibility is definitely in question. And I believe the family. I believe what the family said, right? So you have a situation now where the trooper still is getting paid. The trooper is on desk duty, and there's an 11-year-old girl dead. And if you can't understand it, I'm talking to everyone who's always pro-police. If you can't understand the division right here, that it should not be this difficult to apply a common sense standard to a violation of policy that led to the loss of actual life. But here's what you have. You have these civil servant protection rules that are there because of police unions. You have these qualified immunity rules that are there because of police unions and politicians who are willing to justify them. And now you have literally a killer still carrying a badge and a gun legally, a kid killer at that. All right.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, because a lot of this is about police culture. This guy would not act this way if he didn't feel wholly protected and sort of absolved from anything he does on duty. You don't behave this way if you believe that there will be consequences to any of your actions. And so when you have a culture where accountability does not exist, people behave like people who will never be held accountable for anything that they do. If you run somebody off the road and kill an 11-year-old child, and you know you will never be held accountable This is what we get. The lack of accountability is what breeds this culture. This is a culture of policing. This is why these people go out and behave the way that they do.
Very well said.